I have 3 French bulldogs, and they're a little crazy, so I've always got my handy dandy water bottle. So if I have to stop and spray them, make them be quiet, you know what's going on. Okay, share screen. All right, there we go. Who wants to learn about some detox? Wendy is going to manage the chat tonight. So if you have a question and we don't hit on that, make sure that you bring it back up if we happen to miss it, you know, because a lot of times you guys are blowing that chat up, which is awesome and I love it. You know, just make sure that we get your questions answered. That's the #1 thing. So, and remember, I cannot see you once I'm presenting this. So if you need my attention about anything, make sure you let me know. And Wendy, if you can't get my attention, my cell phone's right here. So I'll see if you're calling me or something. So, all right, let's get going. So we're going to talk about detox. So of course, every time I do this disclaimer, it's really important that you guys know what my purpose here is for you. The content is not intended to be a substitute for any kind of professional medical advice. It's not a diagnosis nor treatment. It is general information for educational purposes only. This information should not be used in the place of a visit, a call, or a consultation, or even the advice of your physician or healthcare provider. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified provider with any questions you may have regarding medical conditions. In accordance with my state licensure, I am not permitted to offer medical advice outside of a doctor-patient relationship. If you're new to my series, you may be wondering, who in the world is this chick? You know, I don't know why she's going to tell me about detox. Well, I've been in the medical field since 1995. I started out as a respiratory therapist. I worked in a rural hospital in Alabama. And if you guys think rural hospitals don't get anything, you're wrong. They get everything. And then we get them ready and packaged up and sent to a bigger hospital. So saw lots and lots of stuff. Worked in the emergency room, served as a certified cardiographic technician, which means I was the person that read the EKGs for the physicians, because a lot of physicians, that was not their specialty. So I went and became specialty trained in interpreting EKGs, so heart rhythms. I also realized that massage, I think that touch had kind of been removed from healthcare. So I went and received training to become a licensed massage therapist. And then I knew that I needed to do more. So I went back to school, became a licensed naturopathic doctor. I did go to medical school where I had hands-on training, went to an accredited naturopathic school. I am licensed in 2 states, Oregon and Washington. And I'm also an essential oil educator. I've been using essential oils professionally for about 19 years. I've been an educator for about 7.5. I also do a lot of grief recovery with my patients, and I became a certified grief recovery specialist because in my practice, I saw that there were a lot of people that had underlying illnesses that we could relate to a grief event. So, and just know that a grief event does not always mean someone has died. Grief event could be so many different things. So I do a lot of work with that. I do a lot of healing work with people in the spiritual emotional realm. So I trained with a lot of like Native American healers, shamanic healers, Reiki practitioner. I've got my training in that, healing energy work. And so in my practice, I incorporate all of that. I've had extensive training in nutrition, biochemistry, botanical medicine, homeopathy, counseling, yada, 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 on and on and on. Then I did some really intensive internships in gastroenterology, physical medicine. So we're talking about like chiropractic, cardiology and pulmonology, ENT, so ear, nose, and throat, and then Nature Cure. Nature Cure is naturopathic medicine foundations. And so I did a ton of training in those practices. My focus for in my practice and in my coaching is focusing on chronic viral conditions. If you know my history, I was extremely ill years ago with Epstein-Barr virus. Epstein-Barr virus is the virus that causes mono plus a bunch of other conditions that it causes. I was very, very ill. And so we started treating the underlying viral condition, and a lot of things started improving. So that became my focus in my practice, was to help other people find that underlying cause, and a lot of times it is a chronic viral condition. I do a lot of GI work. Chronic pain is a big issue, grief recovery, as I mentioned, and spiritual healing. And I always say that anxiety and grief and mental health is also that big relation with the physical. It's not separate. Body, mind, and spirit all have to be addressed together to accomplish that whole healing. We can't just apply healing modalities one area over another. So my current practice, I am online only. For those of you that know, I had a practice in Portland, Oregon. I closed it a little over a year ago, traveled for a year, went and took care of my dad for a period of time, and arrived here in Washington 2 weeks before COVID shut things down. And so I do a lot of online work now in all areas that I work in. So like I said, I'm licensed in Oregon and in Washington, but I can work with anybody nationwide as a coach. I can be your physician if you're in Washington, and I can be your coach if you're elsewhere. What are we going to learn about today? Here is what you're going to walk away from here knowing. You're going to know what detoxification really is, because what we know is that so many times we hear about detox. Well, what does it really mean? You know, is it a diet? What is it? Where does it happen? What is the nutritional relationship? And what happens if our detoxification process is inadequate? I'm going to show you what that looks like. And then we're going to talk about the products that will support the detoxification process, and then extra ways to support it too. Okay, let's dive right in. Detoxification. First of all, it is not a diet. And if you are familiar with my work, I hate the word diet anyway, because how many of us hear the word diet and we immediately get hungry? It just has this negative connotation to it. And it never means I'm going to choose the most healthy way for me to eat. And so I don't even allow my patients to say, what kind of diet are you going to put me on? I'm like, no, we're going to choose the right eating plan for you. It's an eating plan. So detox is not a diet at all. It's not a diet. It is a normal biochemical process that happens in our body. All day, every day, this happens. So it's not a diet. It's been blown up to be a diet in consumer world. It is not. The purpose, what detoxification does, it removes harmful substances, such as a poison or a toxin. It can also render a harmless substance to be a harmful substance to be harmless. And I'm going to explain what that means. But just know that it is taking basically dirty things and turn them into clean things, or taking your body where it's in a dirty state and getting it clean. There's two phases of detox that occurs primarily. They have adopted a third one, but the primary phases of detox, there's two of those. This happens in the liver. It can happen in other places. This is where detoxification happens, though, is primarily in the liver. It is 100% dependent on nutrients. This is going to be very important as we move through this presentation, is that you remember that detoxification has to have specific nutrients for that normal biochemical process to even happen. Where does it happen? Well, we talked about it being in the liver. It has secondary locations as well. So the skin, let's talk about the skin being like the first line of defense always, right? Because when we come into contact with something, even if it is a airborne toxin, what's the first thing it comes in contact with it? The skin on our nose, or the skin on our face, the skin on our arms. And so our skin is automatically trying to like ward off. It's a nice barrier. The liver, as we talked about, primary, we're going to go into that in more detail. The intestines, there is a loop that happens in the intestinal tract. The kidneys, we'll talk about that a little bit more. The lungs, so think about the lungs. If you inhale something, detoxification has to be able to occur in the lungs. We're not going to talk about that one as much, but we're going to talk about all the others, and it supports it. So this is a really scary looking slide, maybe because it's just got a lot of big chemistry words on there, but let me walk you through it. So you're going to start on the left side, because we're going to take in fat soluble toxins, okay? Fat soluble meaning that it can be absorbed into fat molecules such as lymph or other fatty cells. And so these fat solubles, they're kind of bulky and globular. And so they're not really easy for our body to like process, okay? So our body needs to go through an enzymatic process in this first phase of detox. So once these toxins enter the liver cells, then they're going to start in through this process, and they happen in a certain cell of the liver, and it's called the mitochondria, and it's a certain part of the mitochondria. We don't have to get into all of that, but just know that in that mitochondrial cell is where this actually starts to occur. So phase one uses enzymes, and particularly cytochrome P450 enzymes. There are around 50 of these enzymes. There's about 6 to 9 that are very specific for drugs, that they really work to break down drugs. And I'm talking about prescription medications. So they go through this process, and the list that you see there, starting with oxidation, reduction, hydrolysis, hydration, and dehalogenation, those are chemical processes that happen in this phase, and you don't have to know what they are. Just know that it's the chemical breakdown. So it could mean they're adding or removing oxygen, add or removing water molecules, add or removing hydrogen, add or removing halogens, add or removing sulfur. You know, so that's what the liver enzymes are doing to start breaking down these particles, because the job of this is to break a fat soluble down into something that our body can eliminate, because they can eliminate fat soluble toxins. That's why so many toxins kind of get stuck in our cells, and you'll see why is because we're not able to go through this phase one for a variety of reasons. So they break down steroids. They also break down fatty acids. They break down xenobiotics. Xenobiotics is a big word you're going to hear me talk about in this. And xenobiotic just means things that our body needs to break down, basically. It's a variety word for toxins. And so we're going to talk about this CYP 450 enzyme, and that's what we call it. You see it's cytochrome P450. And we just call it in medicine CYP450. This is a very, very, very important enzyme. People that have genetic mutations in the CYP450 enzymes have challenges detoxing. There's also a lot of drugs that will interfere with this. There's some foods like grapefruit. You've heard people talk about, I can't eat grapefruit because it will interfere with some of my medications. Well, what it does is interferes with cytochrome P450 enzyme. And so that helps you know what that happens there. So as we talked about the different organs that detox happens in, just know that these cytochrome P450 enzymes are primarily found in the liver, but there are some that are in the small intestines, in the lungs, there's some in the placenta, and in the kidneys. So just know that you can find them in different places. So what I was talking about with the drugs is that they can be affected in a couple different ways. They can be induced or inhibited. So inhibit, of course, you know what that means. It's going to like reduce, but induced means it's actually going to like push it forward, make it work better. So sometimes it would make a drug be broken down faster than it needs to be. So that is the beginning of phase one. There are nutrients that are needed for this to happen because the biochemistry process that happens relies on these nutrients and it's like a wheel almost. And for those wheels to keep turning, you got to have these nutrients. So you got to have vitamins B2, 3, 6, and 12, folic acid, glutathione, I'll go into that, and flavonoids. Flavonoids, we know those are antioxidants. And so the whole goal is to move something from a fat soluble to a water soluble. Water soluble is very easily eliminated through water. So that could be like bowel and urine. So the conjugation pathway, and I'm gonna go into this again, so don't think you gotta get it all from this one. Conjugation pathway is the second. And conjugation basically just means pairing a compound up with something that can get rid of it. So we got a fat soluble, it comes in on the upper left, fat soluble toxin, comes into phase one. Phase one through CYP 450 starts to break it down. It's going to use those nutrients at the very bottom, and it's going to take one of those chemistry processes, and it's going to break it down to a degree. So then it becomes what we call, you can see this line down the middle, intermediary metabolite. What that means is that it's in the process of being changed. So it starts over here as a fat soluble, it becomes an intermediary metabolite, and then it is conjugated. So there's something that's added to it to allow it to be eliminated. And here again on the right is all these chemistry process names: sulfation, glucuronidation, glutathione conjugation, acetylation, amino acid conjugation, and methylation. That is all talking about whether it's a glucose molecule, an amino acid molecule, or a carbon molecule. There is some type of biochemistry process happening to that compound to make it water soluble from fat soluble. So this all is happening. The whole goal is to get it to a water soluble form. So you can see then that's eliminated in the urine, bile, or the stool. This side also has a lot of nutrients that are needed. There's some amino acids like methionine, cysteine. Then there's minerals like magnesium. Then there's glutathione, which is a compound. Then there's vitamins, vitamin B5 and 12 and C. Then there's some more amino acids, glycine, taurine, glutamine, choline. And then there's another vitamin, folic acid. So you can see how I said this is 100% dependent on nutrients. If those nutrients on the bottom is not in the system, this does not happen. So don't feel like you had to get this from the whole thing because we're going to touch on it again. But I want you to, if you're on any prescription medication, take a picture of this. Because this is a list of medications that has an effect on the CYP 450 enzyme. So if it is an inhibitor, if it's an inducer, it's on this list. And on this far right column, this tells you what it's going to affect. So the substrate means that's the product that is going to be affected. So an example, I like to take Ambien as an example at the very bottom. Most of us are familiar with Ambien. It is a sleep aid prescription. And so if something is a potent inhibitor of this enzyme that controls the result of Ambien, if it's an inhibitor, it is going to inhibit the breakdown of Ambien once it gets in the liver. And so it's going to be slower. It might not get it completely broken down. And so you may have a little bit left over. So some people can take Ambien and they're like they feel hungover the next day. They still can feel the effect of it. Now, if there's a potent inducer on board, then it could ramp it up. It could like break it down super fast. It could like make it more effective. And so then we have this, this challenge about managing your medications with each other. And there's a lot of drug interaction checks that are done with pharmacists. So they know which enzyme is going to affect which medication. But I want you to see this because I think it's really important that we take a little bit of control of our drug management, of our prescription management. If we're on any prescriptions, we need to know which ones are going to interfere with each other. And I say this because I've had a lot of patients over the years that may come to me and they're on a medication that I'm not aware of. I didn't prescribe it. It's not on their drug list. They forgot to tell me about it. And I need to know everything. So that's why when you go to a doctor and they're like, bring all your medications, I don't care if it's nutraceuticals, supplements, over the counter, pharmaceuticals, bring it all in. Here's why. Because there's a lot of things that will affect that detoxification process that happens. And the drugs can definitely affect the outcome of it. So that way, if it's, whether it's inhibited or whether it's induced, okay? So we want to make sure that you've got all the information that you need with your health in mind. Okay, here's another picture of this. So we've got all these toxins on the left. So we're going to talk about the toxins a little bit more too. So there's toxins and then there's toxicants, if you say it quickly. So the list could be a lot of things. It could be metabolic end products, and that means that is something that that is a true toxin. So that is something that our body produces naturally in the biochemistry process. We have things that are waste products, and so some of them can be toxic, and they have to be metabolized in the liver to be eliminated. It could be microorganisms that we're exposed to, contaminants like pollutants. So then we're getting into the toxicants. And so contaminants, pollutants, insecticides, pesticides, food additives, drugs, and alcohol, those are all man-made, so they're toxicants. We'll talk about that again. And so here you got the phase 2 nutrients, all the B vitamins, folate, the fat-soluble vitamins, that's A and D, and then the antioxidant vitamins, C and E. Those are all needed. The herb milk thistle is very helpful for detoxification because it's super supportive for the liver. Calcium and glutathione. Again, we're going to talk about glutathione a little bit more. And then in phase 2, we've got some more of those amino acids that we talked about, the glycine, the taurine, glutamine, cysteine, and then a bunch of sulfur-based compounds. And then phase 3 is what they call the waste. And that is basically a compound moves from phase 1 to phase 2, and then to phase 3. And then that is the transportation, basically. And then one thing we're going to talk about, too, is that what if one of these phases is not functioning optimally? Well, we're going to see that what happens is if phase 1 is not working correctly, and then it doesn't get into phase 2 as quick as it could actually become more toxic than the original compound. And so that can cause us more harm than good. Phase 2, we need phase 2 to be really strong because this is like the powerhouse. This is where glutathione really comes into play. Glutathione is a powerhouse antioxidant. It is the most effective antioxidant there is. And it is made by a couple of things. So we need some cysteine. You see this glutathione down here, the cysteine and the glutamine. And then we have another compound called N-acetylcysteine, and that's another, and that comes together to make glutathione, that powerhouse antioxidant. Now, if if the phase 2 compound, something leaves phase 2, and so then it's going to go to, as you can see here, it's going to go to the gallbladder and into the bile and into the bowels, or it's going to go to the kidneys and then into the urine. Well, what if our GI system is not working optimally? Or what if our kidneys are not working optimally? Then that waste in that phase 3 gets interfered with, and it could get recycled back into the system and have to be run through the liver again and have to go through that whole detoxification process again. Well, this is something that happens quite often. And what we see is we're seeing a lot of elevated liver enzymes. We're seeing a lot of fatty liver disease. We're seeing a lot of gallbladder dysfunction, a lot of kidney disease. And it totally makes sense that this detoxification process not being fully supported is contributing to all of that, because it's being overworked. It's overworking all of our systems. And we know in our environment and in with our food sourcing, and even like our clothes and our detergents and our the carpet that's under our feet and the chair that's under our body, there's so many toxins that we're exposed to, and our body is having to work continuously trying to like clean all these toxins out that we may not even know we're exposed to. And so it's a big overhaul that needs to be done, because our system is just very much overworked. Let's review this again. Let me check and see if there's any questions so far, because I know it's very chemistry heavy. So
there is one question in there.
Yeah.
It has to do with how does your body eliminate when you don't have a gallbladder?
It kind of bypasses it. So it just is going to move to the digestive tract. Then it's going to just, you know, the gallbladder being very close in location to the liver, it would typically go there, and then the bile would just scoot it on into the digestive tract. Instead, it just bypasses that and just moves on to the next area. So it would just go straight into the bowels. The liver is going to just shunt it right into the digestive tract. So it's going to move into the intestinal tract. So, okay, let's review this again so that if there's questions, we kind of have a good idea. So phase 1, it's going to start to break down those fat soluble into, let me make sure I had questions. See, I had some notes I'd written for myself. I think I got them all. Okay. It's going to start to break down those fat soluble compounds into a stage where it can then become the water soluble. We've got all those cytochrome P450 enzymes. We know that drugs can definitely interfere with the effectiveness of the liver's job. And then phase 2, we've got conjugation that happens. This is where we add a molecule that's already present in our body to a reactive site on that compound from phase 1, and that makes it water soluble. And now phase 2, it may be sluggish, and when it is, it's unable to process those compounds from phase 1. And now phase 3, and this is that transportation elimination system that happens. What we know is that if there is GI dysfunction, what that can cause is the creation of a bacteria. I mean, the bacteria will cause the creation of an enzyme called beta-glucuronidase. And that will cause those phase 2 compounds to unbind. So that conjugation that just happened, it undoes that. So it's like all that work that your liver just did, and then it goes into the GI tract. Well, if the GI tract is not working well, and there is some bad gut bacteria in there, which a lot of us have, then that can produce an enzyme that's going to undo all that work. So then what happens? It goes back in that system and does it again. So this is what happens when we see like a ton of this fatty liver disease and elevated liver enzymes and liver enzymes that might be high this time and low next time and all over the place. I hear it all the time. I'm like, my liver enzymes, they're like all over the place. They're high, then they're low. What your liver is trying so hard to keep you healthy. And there are some herbs that and some foods that are very helpful to reduce this beta-glucuronidase and to help the gut keep good bacteria going so that we don't have to worry about that conjugation being undone. And so those are milk thistle. It's this beautiful purple flower down here on the bottom. Milk thistle is silymarin. It is a wonderful herb that is great for liver support. The foods are apples, oranges, grapefruit, cruciferous vegetables, which you see up there in the picture. All of these inhibit that beta-glucuronidase. And so if you're looking at like, okay, I've got these in my diet regularly, or I take a formula that has milk thistle in it, you're totally supporting your gut function to keep that molecule, to keep that compound conjugated so that the body can eliminate it. Hope that makes sense. So why is detoxification needed? Well, like, why is it so important for us? Well, like I said, there's toxins, which those are natural. So a natural toxin, you could think of being something like a plant, a toxic plant, like a mushroom. There's certain mushrooms that look exactly like edible ones, but they're toxic, they're poison, and they will seriously cause harm. There's also plants that are toxic. And then there's also toxicants. And so these are man-made. So in this, we're looking at like pesticides and all that list that we did above, you know, so whether it's pesticides, fungicides, all the contaminants, the artificial and natural sweeteners, like all, you know, tons of stuff. So there's different ways that we're exposed. We can be exposed externally, you know, from those toxicants, or internally, specifically for the toxins, meaning that, and two, like our body produces some toxins as well that we have to eliminate. Externally, just a moment, please. Externally, we're exposed in different ways. It's kind of like essential oils. There's 3 ways to use it. Well, there's 3 ways to get toxins in. We can breathe them in, we can ingest them, or we can have physical contact with them. And in the environment, we have POCs and VOCs. And so these are like particulate organic compounds or volatile organic compounds. So particulates are like an industrial plant that's putting black soot in the air and then you're breathing it in. Or a VOC is a paint that has an off gas that you're breathing that in. That's a VOC. Also, heavy metals are really big. There's tons of heavy metal toxicity. We see it all the time, heavy metal toxicity that affects so many different organs, of course. And then pesticides are really, really big. And in that, you've got insecticides and fungicides, and they're all super toxic. So, and then ingesting, of course, I'm a label reader. I've been a label reader for 20 years now. And so when you're buying a product in the store to bring into your home, whether you're going to breathe it, eat it, or use it on your body, you want to look for artificial colors. You want to look at preservatives. You want to look to see if it says artificial flavors or natural flavors, because natural flavors is not natural. I'll let you know that. Then there's a ton of other things. And I tell people, if you can't pronounce it and you don't know what it is, it's very possibly toxin related. Physical contact too. So we can look at things like, an example is, you know, people may have a reaction to changing their laundry detergent. Well, there's a reason you reacted to that laundry detergent. And so something in that formula did not agree with your body, and your body was like, that is too toxin for me. I'm going to create a reaction. It could even be your clothes. you know, our clothes industry is so money driven. A lot of times they'll, you know, the particles that are in there are not really good for our, to be put right up against our skin. And so, you know, looking at foods and things that we breathe and things that we put on our body. Then internally, this is the normal physiological waste. And so we're talking about free radicals. And we are all familiar with this word, free radicals. So I've got a picture here to show you what a free radical is. And I think I talked about it again. Yeah, okay. So a free radical is a very unstable molecule, and here's why. Look on this outer circle. See how all of these have 2, 2, 2, and that one has 1. So a free radical is a molecule that has an unpaired electron. Electron is a minus always in the outer ring. Well, what this does is it makes it very unstable because it needs 2 to even it out. And so what it's going to do is it's going to look for that, and it's going to cause trouble. And I'm going to show you what that is. But an antioxidant, they're very giving. They're really sweet. They're people pleasers. They're sale pleasers. They want to bring peace to the world. And so they're like, here, you little irritable free radical, let me give you a molecule, let me give you an electron so you can calm your little self down. That's what an antioxidant does. It gives a free radical 1 little electron to make it nice and even. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit more. Look at the picture in the upper right hand. Free radicals, what are they? So again, there's those 2, 2, 2, 2. So healthy, stable molecule, right? He's missing 1. He's unpaired. He's unstable. And this free radical, what they do is they recruit others. They're like, give me one of yours. So when they take one of theirs, well, then he's going to take one of theirs. And then this just becomes a stressful situation. And when this happens, it causes what's called oxidative stress, because it's a recruiting army of free radicals that causes havoc on our body. And so they recruit more by taking electrons from a normal molecule. So they're taking a nice, healthy molecule and making it a gangster molecule, and then they're recruiting more. So this causes oxidative stress. You can see this poor guy over here. He's struggling so bad. He's just like, I'm so stressed. I just can't do anything. And he's got so many irritated little areas on his electron rings. So when we have oxidative stress, this is that imbalance between free radicals and our body's ability to stabilize them, because our body is really good at finding that antioxidant to give that electron back to that molecule so that it can become stable again. And there's a couple of areas that when the stress becomes so out of control, that oxidative stress, it really starts to affect like our nucleic acids. So the DNA, it starts to affect our lipids, which that in turn affects our steroids, our natural steroids, so our hormones. It also starts to affect our cholesterol levels, our proteins. And so this oxidative stress is basically a rusting process that happens. So here is oxidative stress on a chain. This is a new chain, no free radicals happening there. And then the oxidative stress happens and it becomes a rusty chain. Same thing with an apple. When you cut an apple open and it is exposed to oxygen, we have reactive oxygen species that happens. And again, they just keep recruiting the others. And so the apple over time continues to oxidize until all of the exposed area of the apple changes color from a new chain to a rusty chain. Then you got a brown apple. So there's these 2 different species, reactive oxygen species. So that's the oxygen ones. And then there's the nitrogens as well. We'll talk a little bit more about the oxygen ones now. So here are some examples of reactive oxygen species free radicals. So these are things that as we take them into our body, we already know that they are free radicals, like before we even take them in, and then it creates a cascade of free radicals. And so we're looking at any kind of air and water pollution, alcohol, those transition metals like cadmium, mercury, lead, and arsenic, then the heavy metals like iron, copper, cobalt, and chromium, and then any kind of industrial solvent, pesticides, really high temperatures, ultraviolet light. So that's why chronic exposure to the sun, ends up causing cancer. It's because of those free radicals in the skin. Different types of cooking, like smoked meat, used oil. So if you're going to a fast food restaurant, you can be pretty much guaranteed you're getting some free radicals because they use the oil over and over to cook those fries. Fat, and there's a lot of drugs, the halothane, and then I'm not going to go through all of these. But here's one I did want to talk about, metronidazole. So metronidazole is a drug that we hear a lot. It's also called Flagyl. And so just know that metronidazole is something that in naturopathic medicine, we see it as the danger that it is, and we really try to avoid it at all costs because we know that all of these free radicals, they're going to start a launch or at least add to a cascade of a free radical recruitment that leads to the oxidative stress. And these are some conditions that oxidative stress leads to, very specifically leads to. So we know for a fact with research that oxidative stress is definitely a causative factor in these conditions. And in the neurodegenerative ones, it is because there's such a high lipid content in the nerve cells. There's also really high consumption of oxygen. Remember those reactive oxygen species? And then there's really low levels of antioxidant enzymes in the neurological system. And that's typically because it didn't used to be needed. A lot of these conditions are more prevalent now, like this is Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis. And so we're seeing a lot more of that now because there are so many toxins that we're exposed to on a regular basis that we're seeing a lot more neurodegenerative diseases. Also things like cardiovascular disease. So, hypertension and atherosclerosis. So then we're looking at like cardiovascular disease like heart, things that cause heart attacks. Cataracts, asthma, of course, liver damage, and then diabetes. So we're looking at like the pancreas being affected, not able to like produce the insulin and release the insulin, rheumatoid arthritis, cancer, and then of course aging, because the cells are being attacked on a regular basis. So this is going to add to that aging process because there are a lot of like indigenous tribes that as the older generations, they don't have, or in the past, they didn't have all the health concerns that our elderly generation does. And it's because they weren't as exposed to as many things as our elderly generation is now. Antioxidants, of course, are very stable molecules like we talked about. And like I said, they're going to give that free radical an electron. And here's some items that antioxidants can be provided by. So of course, blueberries, nuts, avocados, a lot of fruits and vegetables, and garlic, chocolate, yay, ginger. Let me look at the chat really quick before I move on. High temps causing free radicals include being in a sauna too long. No, that is actually that's not too long. it depends on the sauna. So like you guys know, I work with far infrared saunas. They actually improve the detoxification process. If you're talking about too high temperatures, this would, you know, a lot of that is like the foods. If, you know, foods are cooked at a really high temperature, it can change those molecules into more of a toxic area. But I don't think we are going to be exposed to high temperatures in the state that that this is talking about. So good question though. I appreciate that. We'll see where we are. No, getting a sauna. It's a good thing. So you may be thinking, well, this all sounds kind of like it might be me. Well, here's a way to know. These are the conditions, these are the symptoms of people that are overloaded with toxins. And now that you know what you know, you can see why. You know, there's so many toxins that we're exposed to on a regular basis. And then when we're not able to eliminate them the way that our body is intended to, our body gets stuck with this bucket that's overflowing with toxins, and there's no room for anything else to be put in, but we continue to put in, and our bucket of toxins is always overflowing. So we're always tired. Our body's constantly trying to rid us of those toxins. So it's always working. And so it causes a lot of exhaustion and fatigue. Insomnia is usually in place too. This is going to lead to irritability. There's going to be a lot of muscle aches and pains because you've got all these toxins flowing through your muscles. Headaches, it's all in your bloodstream. It causes brain fog, unable to focus, memory issues, constipation, weight issues, body odor, halitosis. So you've got odor coming from your breath, from your body, and that's because your skin is trying to get some of those toxins out. And then you may have skin concerns. So you may have rashes. You may have different types of rashes, whether it be eczema, psoriasis. You know, there's a lot of different concerns people have. And so you want to look at, is it a toxic load that you're dealing with? So the nutritional needs, going to go back to those again. So the vitamins, you got vitamin B2, 3, 5, 6, and 12, folic acid, vitamins A, C, and D. Now, these are all the things that have to be in optimal levels for that detoxification process to work. Has to be. If it's deficient, what do you think is going to happen? You're not going to get detoxified as efficiently. The amino acids, we need glycine, taurine, choline, methionine, and cysteine. Methionine is one that makes glutathione. Sorry, I had a brain break. And then magnesium, calcium, flavonoids. We know those as being antioxidants. And then that glutathione, that powerhouse antioxidant, it's found in asparagus. It's also found in avocados, spinach, and broccoli. But what we found is that the food sources, they're not really absorbed well. And it's because the digestive enzymes that we normally have, they break them down, and then the glutathione is not taken up into our body and said, here you go, liver, here's that glutathione. So what we actually have to do is we have to ingest the building blocks, the things that will make glutathione, and those include selenium, vitamin D, alpha-lipoic acid, milk thistle, and N-acetylcysteine. I take, and we call N-acetylcysteine NAC, so you may have heard it that way. I take it every day, and it's just because like I said, I've got a chronic underlying viral condition. So I'm always having to make sure that I'm keeping my liver fed of that, of the building blocks for that glutathione to happen. I have received glutathione in an IV before, in a IV nutraceutical, in an IV, a nutrient IV. So if you have a naturopath in your area that does nutrient IVs. Glutathione is amazing for this detox process. So I've had that before. And then, of course, cruciferous vegetables. We looked at those. So you're looking at like cabbages and broccolis and Brussels sprouts. Then herbs that are supportive. So we got milk thistle, burdock. Burdock is a great root, and it really helps the skin in that detox process. Dandelion, it's amazing. Osha, barberry, marshmallow. And I'm not talking about marshmallows like you roast on a fire. Marshmallow herb is amazing. We used to grow marshmallow and back in Oregon, and you dig up the plant, and it's the marshmallow root. You wash the root out really good. You chop it up, and you put it we put it like in a mason jar of water. And then in the next day or so, you drained that water off, and it was like slime. That was the marshmallow root extract. And so what marshmallow does is it is a coating. It provides coating for your digestive tract as well. So it really helps nourish the intestinal lining. It's amazing in that intestinal lining to help soothe any irritations, and it also helps to like just provide that nourishment that marshmallow does. We call it a demulcent because it makes that slimy when it's mixed with water. You guys should all be familiar with this. This is the wellness lifestyle pyramid. So right on the bottom, you know, we saw that if we don't have all the nutrients that we need, then the detoxification process is not going to work optimally. So we've got to eat right. Yeah. So we've got to put all this stuff in there. But at the same time, we know that the key glutathione is not going to happen unless we're providing some supplementation there. So even if we're eating that, but we've got to eat the building blocks of it. And so let me go back to that. So we could do that in some form. So like selenium, you could eat Brazil nuts. That's high in selenium. Vitamin E, there's a ton of foods high in vitamin E and alpha lipoic acid. Milk thistle, you're going to have to take that one. N-acetylcysteine, that's an amino acid. You got to take that one too. And so that's just the way it is. Okay. So we're going to provide that foundation though. And then of course, exercise, it's going to help to just provide the body with all of that nice oxygen and nitrogen that it needs. Rest and manage stress. This is a big key. There's that reduce that toxic load. So that's when we're talking about looking at clearing those toxins out of your home, out of your diet, out of your beauty regime, out of your everything. You know, really get those toxins as low as possible. Let's check the chat really quick before we move further.
There's one about the marshmallow. Where do you get it?
Okay, well, actually, we've got it. We're going to show you guys where it's at. It's in some of our products. Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Wendy. Yeah. So I'm glad Wendy brought that up because, you know, there's tons of supplement stores and some of them have great products. And if you go in there knowing your products, you're in good shape. But if you don't know your products, you may get sold something that we don't know what it is because they're just like essential oils. They're not regulated by the FDA. So it could be 10% what it says on the bottle and 90% chalk. Who knows? You have no way of knowing. Or if it's a brown peel, it could be dirt. So there definitely are some brands that I prefer. Of course, working with doTERRA, we have some really great products that have some that provide all this for us. So what do I recommend doing? I love the cleanse and restore. I don't like calling it a detox because it's not. It's a way to go through 3 phases. We got 3 phases of our detox that happens naturally. And so there's 3 phases of this. So phase 1, we take the first 10 days and we really support those filtering organs. The second 10 days, we're going to cleanse the intestinal tract. Because remember, if our intestinal tract is not working properly and we are trying to get our detoxification to work better, when it gets to that non-working GI tract, it's going to kick it out and send it back to the line. Got to go back to the back of the line, start all over again, just creating more work. So we have to clean the intestinal tract for this to really reset. And then that's what phase 3 is. It's really resetting, renewing. So we're going to support that healthy digestive function and immunity. And so that last 10 days is really bringing in the cellular health component. So here is this is a cleanse and restore kit. It has those 3 phases. We're going to activate in that phase 1. We're going to reset in phase 2, and we're going to renew in phase 3. It's got liver support. It's got digestive support. It's got cellular support, and it's got nutrient support in there. Definitely, for sure. They're our foundation. So this is our eat right, because very few of us are getting all of these vitamins and minerals and herbs in our food. I know I'm not, and I am a naturopath, and I am very conscious of what goes in my body and how much nutrients I'm getting in. And it doesn't matter how many green drinks I drink a day. I'm like, I know I'm like not getting all the nutrients into, because our food source is so lacking. So if you're new to this Lifelong Vitality, has all the vitamins. So it has vitamin A, C, and E, the B's, folic acid, vitamin D. It's got zinc, selenium, and copper, and iron. All of those are needed in those chemistry processes. And then the cellular vitality complex, so the alpha CRS, when I first was introduced to this formula, I was a little offended. I'm gonna be honest, because I thought, how can doTERRA think that they can come up with a good antioxidant? I'm like, I'm a naturopath. I know some master herbalists and naturopath doctors. I can come up with something better than that. Well, I started researching everything they had put in there, and I realized I could not come up with a better formula than they did. They've got in this and in the Microplex VMZ, they've got the exact amount of product that needs to be in there. So what I mean is that the dosing is spot on, because what we see, even in a lot of nutraceuticals, we see that they're dosing these vitamins too high or too low. Well, that can also cause just as many toxicity issues as none at all. So even if you have too much, it's just as much of a problem. And so this alpha CRS, it's got boswellia, scutellaria, milk thistle, bromelain, resveratrol, green tea leaf extract, pomegranate, and turmeric. All of those play a major role in the antioxidant picture. So some of them are direct antioxidants, and then others are basically kind of like building blocks of it. And like the alpha lipoic acid, we know that's one of the building blocks for that glutathione, right? CoQ10, so this is a coenzyme Q10. This is just super supportive to that whole antioxidant picture. And then ginkgo biloba is a big antioxidant. It's not as big as glutathione, but it's super helpful in that. So and then of course the omega. So there's 2 options on that omega. Of course, if you're plant-based, look at the vegan one. It is from algae. And if you're animal-based, then you're looking at this one here, the XC omega. But then of course you've got the digestive enzymes, because remember, if you are not supporting your digestive tract, then you got to go back to the back of the line. So this is the top digestive enzyme that I can find. I love sharing this with my doctor colleagues, because as soon as they see the ingredients, they're like, okay, yeah, this is the bomb. It is food derived. That's great, because, we work with a lot of people that are totally plant-based. It's got those mineral cofactors, which means a lot of your chemistry processes needs a mineral cofactor like zinc or magnesium or manganese, copper, different things like that has to be there for a process to happen. And so this enzyme formula has it in there. It also has a lot of enzymes. So you've got protease, breaks down protein, papain that starts breaking down protein, amylase, it's going after those carbs, lactase is the lactose, lipase, those are the large lipids and fats. And then it had many more enzymes. I just didn't want to list every one of them. These are the big ones. Then the big thing for me, it's got this anti-gluten enzyme. And so if you have a sensitivity to gluten, or if you are celiac, this is like something you never want to be without, because this allows your body to have the enzymes that it needs to work on that occasional exposure that you might have to gluten. Let's see, I think there's a chat. Let me check it quick. Okay. Good. You guys are good. All right. Thanks, Wendy. Then, of course, the Zenocrine Complex. So this is a detoxification process support. So it supports that phase 1 and 2. It really supports that phase 2, which is key, because if phase 1 doesn't get to phase 2, it starts all over and it becomes a bigger toxin. Whole food-based nutrients here. It also supports that filtering process and the endocrine glands. So you're talking about like your thyroid, your adrenals, your pancreas, you know, all of those adrenal endocrine glands, it's going to support those too. It has these herbs in there. You got psyllium seed husk powder, barberry leaf. Remember, that was back over in what Detox needs. Turkish rhubarb stem, kelp, milk thistle, osha. There's that osha again. I'm telling you, osha is a powerhouse herb. Safflower petals, acacia gum, burdock. Oh, there's that burdock again. There's dandelion. Look, there's marshmallow. Somebody said, where can I get marshmallow? Zindacrine. Zindacrine Detox Complex, not the soft gels, but the complex. Marshmallow is in there. Red clover leaf. Red clover leaf is awesome for any viral condition. So I love using red clover when I'm working with patients. And I'm not meaning this complex. Like, I use red clover in my practice in a tincture or in an herb form. And so I love that it's in here. It's amazing for the liver, supportive. And then we've got the soft gels. Oh, I spelled Zindacrine wrong. Hey, it's a new spin on it, Zindacrine. So we got Zindacrine soft gels. So in there we've got rosemary, cilantro, juniper berry, and all three of those, they support the liver and the detoxification process. And then for the purifying effects, it's got tangerine and geranium. And I love using the oil too, like right on your liver before you get in a sauna with some castor oil. Yay, amazing. Okay, then we're into this second phase. So now we're gonna start really helping the digestive system clean. The thing that I like about this program is that it's not harsh. And I've done cleanses and I've ran cleanses in my practice before. And people would say, am I gonna have to like stay home on day 10? I'm like, no. Not with this one. So it's got caprylic acid. Caprylic acid has really antimicrobial properties. And so in our gut, we have E. coli anyway. It's a natural bacteria that we have. But when it gets a little out of control and we have that overgrowth of it, then it causes problems. So does salmonella, strep in our gut. Ooh, big problem. And then it has these essential oils, oregano, tea tree, lemon, lemongrass, peppermint, and thyme. And we know those are some powerhouse oils that really help with any pathogen that's in the gut. It's really going to be supportive on helping the gut just really just kind of get back into that clean state. And it's really a good maintenance for our gut on a twice a year basis. People ask me, can I take this every day? I think it really works better when it's used, once a year in a in this type of a program. And then once you're done with that, 10 days, you've got your gut all nice and cleaned out of any of those pathogens that you did not want. Then you're going to replace it with some good healthy flora. So this probiotic has 6 strains of probiotic intestinal flora. If you see that little capsule up there, it's really nice and triple encapsulated, and that's because, double coated, so that it moves into the intestine, that the stomach acid does not break apart this, because if it does, then your probiotic is kind of wasted in your stomach, because that's not where it's needed. It really helps support those healthy colonies of that friendly microflora. And then, of course, you've got healthy bacteria growth. Well, we want it to not only grow, we want it to stick around, right? Instead of just being washed away, because a lot of times when we're trying to repopulate healthy bacteria, we're not taking the right kind that allows it to adhere to the intestinal wall. And this does, it promotes the growth and the adhesion of healthy bacteria growth. And then it does inhibit the growth of pathogenic bacteria. And then if you've been on any of my classes, you know this is one of my all-time favorite, DDR Prime. This provides really great antioxidant support. The oils in this soft gel is frankincense, orange, lemongrass, thyme, summer savory, and clove and niaouli. So I love this complex. And I tell a lot of people, you know, if you could only get one and you kind of in a general area of health, this is a great product. And then of course, lemon oil is in this same cleanse and restore program. I love that this is from Italy. It supports the liver when you put it in your drinking water. The properties in there, of course, it's high. It's got those monoterpenes, the D-limonene, alpha and beta pinene, alpha and gamma terpenes, and then aldehydes. So all these are very supportive in our body's cleansing system and detoxification. And of course, yeah.
When is the best time of day to take the PB Assist?
So the PB Assist, it's going to work better at night, really. So she's taking one a day. It really works better at night, like with an evening meal. My only concern like people ask me all the time, should I take it every day? And I'm not going to say no. What I am going to say is you want a clean system too. And so one a day is good while you're, you know, using it for maintenance. If you're using it to like really, truly repopulate, then you're going to take it after the GX Assist. And no, Debbie, you're not going to take it while you're taking GX Assist. So we're going to look at the program. I wonder if I put that. I don't think I put the timeline of when to take what. So the first 10 days, so let me back up a little bit. So the first 10 days of the Cleanse and Restore is Lifelong Vitality, Terrazyme, Zenocrine Complex, and Zenocrine Soft Gels. So you're doing that the first 10 days. And then the second 10 days, you're going to stop doing the soft gels and you're going to add in the GI Cleanse. And then the last 10 days, you're going to replenish. So you're not doing the GX Assist anymore. You're adding in the PB Assist and the DDR Prime. That's why I put them in here this way. I was like, and then the lemon you're doing the whole time. So you don't ever want to take GX Assist and probiotic at the same time, because you're wasting them. You want to wait on the probiotic and take the GX Assist and then move to the PB Assist. Okay. All right, I think I got everybody, right, Wendy?
There's, how many drops would you put of the lemon in a veggie cap?
Oh, whatever works for you. I would say 2 minimum. But it just, you know, it just depends on how many times a day you're going to take it. You know, in the cleanse, you're looking at 10 drops a day because you do 2 drops in your water about 5 times a day. So if you're looking at taking it all at once, you can see how your body reacts to more in a veggie capsule if you're not able to drink it in the water. So, you know, probably see if you can handle 4 at a time and maybe take it twice a day or 5 and just work up to it and see how your body does on that. So
awesome. That should be it in the chat right now.
what's that?
That's all that's in the chat right now.
Okay. All right. All right. So, okay. And of course, you guys know that I love the oil applications. And if you're looking at Symphony of the Cells, of course, you would look at the digestive protocol, infectious disease, cellular, the C2, and the inflammatory, or just the aroma touch technique. These are awesome to really just support the body as you're going through this detoxification process, and to help eliminate some of the stress. One thing I do want to mention here is I hear this a lot. People have reactions to essential oils sometimes. And I hear people that think that they're doing the right thing and they say, it's just a detox process, keep using it. One thing that we have to be 100% clear on, we don't have a detox process to essential oils in that way. Our body doesn't detox because of using essential oils. So it has to detox the oils. And so just know that if you are an educator, an essential oil educator, and you are working with someone that has essential oils that they're using, and then they have a skin reaction, please be cautious on telling them it's just a detox, keep using it and use more. Be very cautious on that, because I will tell you that is not accurate as far as we're not having a detox to oils in that way. Our body does have to detoxify the oils just like it does everything else. So I just wanted to mention that just because I've had that come up a lot. And I know there's some people on here that have worked with me in the past, and when they have a reaction like that, what I say is stop using them. Just stop using them all right now, and let your body clear up, and then let's start over a lot more slow and cautious. So if you do one of these applications on someone and they do have a reaction, just know that it is not their body detoxing, and that means they need more. Sorry, that's kind of became a little bit of a soapbox for me because I've had so many people asking me about that. Okay, so here is something that I'm wanting to offer, and this starts in January. This is a special offer. Let me check the chat real quick. Okay. What about when people take the LLV and they have diarrhea? Well, it really depends on like what kind of health their gut is in to start with. So if they're, let me go back up. If they are taking the LLV, like let's say they're taking a full dose, so when we're starting someone on supplementation that they're not used to, they may have a detox process happen, because just think about it. We just looked at all of the nutrients that are required for you to have an optimal detox process happen, right? Well, in the Lifelong Vitality System, we know that it has all of those nutrients. So what if I was not detoxing and if I was not detoxing right, and then I started taking all those nutrients. And then my liver was just like, oh my gosh, we got to catch up. And it goes on overtime. That can be a detox process. So that is in relation, I mean, that is in response to the nutrients. It is not in response to the oils. It's in response to the nutrients, because the nutrients are then providing the liver with all of those nutrients that are needed for that detox to happen. So, you know, that can cause some discomfort. And so I always work with people in that way of, if we're having an issue, let's slow down. I don't want to like throw everything to your liver at once. So let's back way off, and let's drink a lot of water. Let's make sure we're giving your body everything you need. At the same time, you want to look at, are you feeling your body full of toxins? At the same time, you're taking that and it's like, it's on overdrive. So you just want to look at the whole picture. It's not something you can just, excuse me, look at one area of it and say, here's what's going on with this. Somebody said, if it isn't a detox reaction to oils, what is it? Well, what happens when you have a reaction to your skin a lot of times? It can be an overload. It can be an allergic reaction. People can be definitely allergic to oils. And at the same time, it can just be too caustic for their skin. So some people may have very sensitive skin that they're not even aware of, or their body is working to eliminate some toxins, and the oils are just too much. And so I just, less is definitely more. Just know that less is more, especially with essential oils. Because always go back to, when you're talking essential oils, go back to that initial peppermint example. 1 drop of peppermint is equal to 28 cups of peppermint tea. Well, if 28 cups of peppermint tea is too much for me, I might need a half a drop of peppermint instead of 6. So just keep that in mind and go back instead of forward if you're having someone that you're working with that's having some type of reaction that is not pleasant. You want to make sure that you're fully supporting them instead of encouraging them to cause themselves more harm. So just be very careful with that. And don't get me wrong, I fully believe in the oils. I use them on myself. I got them all over the place. I use them on myself. I use them on my family. I use them in my practice. I fully believe in them. And I fully believe in that they are medicine. And anything can be toxic if used too much. If you drink too much water, that's toxic. You use too much oils, it can be toxic. If you are having a reaction that your body is like, oh gosh, what in the world's happening here? I'm having a skin reaction. I'm like, make sure you dilute it heavy. Apparently, you've got some really nice sensitive skin. You want to dilute it really heavy. So how many drops did you use? Oh, you used 3. Let's back off to 1. Let's give it a couple days and just let your body come back to normal, and we're going to start over, because everybody's body is different. We want to see how much is enough for you. So now the next time, we're just going to use 1 drop. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense to everybody, so that you guys know how to, yes, test the carrier oil separately so you can narrow that down, that reaction. And no, I've seen some reactions from carrier oils, certain brands. So you just want to watch. Like, I know that you can get cheaper fractionated coconut oil at different places, but just know that doTERRA is tested. So in the clinic, I use nothing. When I was using them in the clinic, I didn't use anything except doTERRA, because that was the only thing that I knew was absolutely tested. So yeah, I agree, Leanne. Thank you for that. Make sure that the carrier oil is not your problem too. So anytime you use one of these protocols, you're going to make sure that you're using the carrier oils as well. You can follow it up with the heat, with a sauna or a hot shower to get the best results. And again, if you're doing this on someone you don't know, you want to use a lot of caution there. Okay, so do we have any questions before I move on? Let me look and see. I think we got it all. Okay, I hope I didn't scare you guys on all of that. I just know that it is better for us to know how to do this well, and how to really serve people. Okay, this is really about serving people the right way, and to make sure that we are caring for them. And even if that means stop using oils for a little bit, and let's start over. Okay. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. Okay, told you guys I was going to offer something special this round. This is something that I've been working on. I put a lot of work into this already, and I got a lot more work to do for you guys. But this is a really special offer. So this is a Cleanse and Restore program. So not only is it using doTERRA's Cleanse and Restore, the kit, you would have the support of a physician-guided process. So it will give you step-by-step guidance. It will be individualized and modified for your specific health concerns. The program will run January 4th through February 3rd. You will have 7 hours of online work with me, education, guidance. So we'd have an hour Zoom call first, laying out the full program details. And then there'll be another Zoom call a week before to prepare you for that next month, I'll provide recipes, I'll provide menu ideas. I'll go over like eating plan recommendations. And so this will happen when we have some individual time alone, and we're working on like your specific health concerns. And we'll figure out what eating plan is going to work best for you as you are going through the Cleanse and Restore. We have found that it works best if you do have an eating plan in place, rather than just eating the way that you're eating now and then doing the Cleanse and Restore. You're still going to get some results. You're not going to get the best results. The best results do come when you're doing an eating plan with them. There will be a weekly Q&A Zoom call where we'll get on. I'll answer everybody's questions that you have as you're going through this. It will not be medical advice. It will be questions specifically, just like I do here. And then after the program, a week later, we'll do a follow-up call. And so, like I said, included, there's going to be eating plan discussions and recommendations, recipes, menu ideas, lifestyle support recommendations. So remember, I said I do not just work with physical. There is a mental, spiritual component that we're going to work with as well. So there's going to be a lot of recommendations there just to help you like start this 2021 in a totally different way. I'll give you lab recommendations. So like if you're looking at, I want some labs before I start this program and after that, I'll help you know what would be the best things either to get your physician to order or there's some things that I can help you with as well to get those labs if needed. So of course you're going to need the Cleanse and Restore kit. If you have a doTERRA wholesale account, of course that is something that you would purchase on your own. If you don't, and I am who invited you here, then I would help you get this kit at wholesale instead of a retail cost. So this would give you a very significant savings from the $326 to $270. And so that offer is 7 hours of me. You've got 7 hours of education guidance, like collective materials. Like I said, I'm putting a lot of time into this for you guys so that you have everything that you need. The entire program, and that does include the kit costs, so we'll talk about that, is $595. There are payment options available if you need that. So if you've already got a wholesale account and you're wanting, and you can order that through your own account, then your only cost for this program will be $350. So if you are looking at this as like, I need something to like start my health in a great direction. You have me for a full month. Actually, it's going to turn into like 6 weeks of us working together, getting you jump started into 2021 in the right direction. So if you're like, this might be what I've been looking for, I want you to look at scheduling a free discovery call with me so we can talk about what some of your health concerns are and like what your goals are, to see if this is a good fit for you to for me to walk with you through this detox process. And that discovery call is free. So down here I've put this link is my scheduler. So if you're like, I don't need a discovery call, I know I need somebody's help walking through this because my health has just not been where I want it to be in the last couple of years. And I really want to like jumpstart 2021 in a new direction. Merry Christmas to yourself. And you deserve it, you know, and this is something that you can give yourself that will really help you. And if you're doing doTERRA as a business, it will help your people that you're working with, because this is something that you're investing into you and you are worth the investment. This is my email address down here on the very bottom. So feel free to take a screenshot of this. And like I said, the first call, I want to go back up one more. The first call that we have is December 15th. And so you really want to make sure that you're registered before that so that you can get in on that orientation call so that you get the full benefit, because it would be a little bit more challenging. I will record it, but I want to be able to answer everybody's questions on that initial call. So you're worth it. Join me as we start 2021 with a 30-day cleanse and restore. And of course, you know, you guys know I love saunas. If you were here in my house, walk in my bathroom, there's a sauna sitting right there. So if you're into this, if you do the program with me, you're going to get a really deep savings on this. Here's all the references that I used. If you want to look up some of these research articles, take a quick screenshot of that. And then I will answer questions. Thank you guys. You guys have been a joy. Okay, any questions? Was this overwhelming? Hour and a half. A lot of information.
I feel like you did a really good job of explaining and tying it all together so that we saw the flow and understand better of how everything kind of affects everything else. I appreciated that.
Oh, good. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. You know, it's challenging, the liver in itself. I remember many years ago, I said, if I had known that I could be a liverologist, that's what I would have done years ago, because the liver is so powerful and it's so intriguing to me. And then when you take in Chinese medicine, you know, and livers where all the anger is held, and you know, there's so many emotions that get tied up in the liver. So it's just a really hard-working organ, and we abuse it a little too much. So glad that we can support it. Okay.
I appreciate too that you let us know what doTERRA has done that gives us, you know, I've been so grateful for doTERRA products, and it's just really, again, awesome to hear that doTERRA, their research, I tell people, their research is amazing. They're spot on all of it. And it's so nice just to hear that, that confirmation again, so.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. Totally agree. Yeah, they've really done their work on the research, and I love that they are connected with so many of the research hospitals, you know, Johns Hopkins, Vanderbilt, you know, a lot of them that's really doing a lot of intensive research into essential oils and medicine, you know, seeing it as medicine, not just as aromatherapy. So, you know, as a physician, I really appreciate all of the research that's been done on essential oils as medicine. And then not just even that, like I was really blown away when I started really realizing all of the herbal complexes they had, you know, the formulas. And like I said, like about alpha CRS, I was like so skeptical about it. And then when I started really looking at the ingredients, I'm like, okay, they know what they're doing. You know, all right, maybe they are scientists. So yeah, that it's really refreshing to see that they're doing the work for us. You know, they're doing a lot of the work for us.
Well, sometimes I think we're skeptical because so much of what we've had in the past from other companies, it's just about the bottom line. It's about the buck, and it doesn't matter what's in it. It doesn't matter if it's pure. I mean, even if it's just got that little bit of, you know, I think Justin calls it the sprinkle dust, you know, or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, so you know, we have been skeptical, but I'm so grateful that doTERRA just keeps showing up in a really powerful way. So
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Absolutely. Okay. Thank you, Delores, for those comments. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you very much. Grateful.
All right. Let me check the chat again. Make sure there's no more questions. Looks like we're good.
I have a quick one.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm working with a friend who is on some medications for fibromyalgia, and she's very, very, very constipated. And I've given her some solutions, but she's still struggling and would like to try something natural. And we're heading towards Terrazyme and the Zenocrine Complex.
You're going in the right direction for absolute sure. I'll also let me tell you a story. I had my grandson Eli, who jumped on the call earlier. He's 4, so we know how he jumped on the call. When he was a baby, he became constipated. You know, when babies become constipated, they look like little starving babies and their belly pooches out and it's hard as a rock and they're miserable. And that helps us see like how we're actually supposed to feel if we're in tune with our body when we're constipated. We should be miserable because we're supposed to be eliminating however many times a day we eat. That's how many times we need to eliminate. So in our medicine, we say, if you're not eliminating 3 times a day, you're clinically constipated. You eat 3 times a day, you need to eliminate 3 times a day. Because if I put something in my mouth, my body needs to make room for it, right? Okay. So Eli, little poochy belly, crying, he was a baby. So I got castor oil and Digestin, and I just rubbed it all over his little belly in clockwise motion. You know, clockwise is the motion of our digestive tract. So I just massaged it in, and castor oil is like an irritant to our body. Our body hates it, and it's going to get rid of it. Whatever it has to do, it's going to get rid of it. Even if it's topically and it's absorbed in through the abdominal wall, and it gets into our intestines is like, oh, crew, we got some castor oil. Let's get it out of here, and it will move the bowels. And that baby had the biggest poo diaper within an hour that I had ever seen. And so it kicked the bowels. Now, with adults, a lot of times I see issues, especially if it's a drug-induced constipation, you know, like they've been on medication for pain. And here's what happens, because a lot of the pain medications we have in our digestive system, it's called the motility motor complex. Anyway, it moves things. And medications, especially pain medications, turn it off. I mean, it literally like flips the switch off. So when we are working with people that they have to stay on the medications to survive, then we're like, okay, how can we get that switch turned back on? Sometimes doing things like a couple times a day, castor oil with Digestin, rubbing it on a belly or something. And then you're doing a great thing of thinking of like supporting the liver with the Zenocrine and supporting the enzymes, because if that stuff is sitting in the digestive tract, it's been sitting there a long time because nothing's moving, it's creating toxins. So then they're getting more toxin, which is making them hurt more, which is making them need more medication. It's a vicious cycle. And so getting those enzymes in there to hopefully like start breaking stuff down that's sitting in that tract is a great idea. And you may have to go super heavy at first with the Terrazyme to like really move it through. Also, sometimes you can see people starting on Terrazyme and they may have a little bit of discomfort, you know, almost like indigestion discomfort. It is breaking things up in there. And so that's causing like an off gas coming up. And so it's again, it goes back to like taking it slow, doing it as long as you can keep, you know, a comfort level. That's the goal, is to keep a comfort level. And so I love using castor oil with Digest Zen on the belly. And I love using Zenocrine oil with castor oil on the liver. And it just really like moves things and keeps things flowing the way that they should. And then adding, you know, all those other products that you're talking about, you're spot on with that, Leanne. So I think you're in a good place with that. Just look at, you know, like I talked about with the Eli, like massaging, like I really massaged his little belly, and it's just like a muscle, you know, like after, like, you know, you guys know I had surgery on my shoulder. Well, one of the things that I'm having to do is like activate it by touch. Touch is very activating because it's almost like our cells forget what they're supposed to do until we're like, hey, you need to move. So when you're doing that to the belly and the belly's like, I'm not moving, and you're like, boom, 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 you're just massaging around, and it goes, oh, wait, you just woke me up, boom. When I was a massage therapist and I would have people on the table that were constipated, I would massage their belly, and it almost never failed. They would say, you're gonna have to stop a minute, I gotta go. And I'd have to like get them up off the table. They'd have to go potty. Then they'd come back and they'd be like, I feel better now. And we'd do some more. And sometimes they'd be like, gotta go again. And it was just that action, that really manipulating the intestines to wake it up. It's almost like an external colonic, for a lack of better terms, but it really kind of is. You're just like really waking things up, and the tissue, sometimes it just needs that nudge. So that was probably more than you wanted to know, but you ask.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
We all learn something from you every single time.
I learn from you guys too. Y'all ask great questions. Okay, any other questions? I have a funny story I want to share real quick with you guys. Unfortunately, I think she's already jumped off. I had somebody that messaged me this morning and they were like, you've not sent me the email. I need the email. And I was like, and I went back on here, right, and I checked and I was like, they all went out. And then it showed one that had unsubscribed or something. I'm like, you unsubscribed to me. You sign up for the class, then you unsubscribe. Well, then in a little bit, I think she figured it out. She hadn't registered for it. Oh, we laughed. It was so funny. I was hoping she's still on here. We laughed. I was like, that was the issue. You had not registered. That's why you were not getting the emails. So, okay. All right. Thank you, ladies. I think it's all ladies, but anyway, I appreciate you guys. You guys have a great Thanksgiving. Stay safe. Stay super safe. Be careful. Use your oils. Use your products. Stay safe. Thank you all. I will see you all next month.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Wendy.
You're welcome.